Welcome back to another tutorial. If you haven't been here before, my name is Sharon and I've got a visitor today. I've got a gorgeous Easter bunny and he's going to take pride of place in today's floral design. Now I've chosen today to use some wire netting and some water rather than floral foam. Two reasons. There are lots of people who would like to see some designs in wire netting rather than floral foam. And the second reason is I've almost run out of foam to use. So knowing how to use wire netting instead of floral foam is a really good option. Now my little bunny is sitting on a little wicker tray that has actually come from IKEA. I tend to use them for display purposes, but it's quite a nice way of making like a tablescape or a centerpiece for your design at home. And my rabbit is going to sit off to the right hand side as you're looking at it. And my sort of plan is to create a design that's almost going to curve around the little bunny. But because I don't have the formal structure of the foam, it's going to be a bit looser and a bit more random, if that's a good word to use. If you joined me for the YouTube live, you would have seen me use some white lilies and some golden twigs and some palm leaves, and I'm almost going to repurpose those alongside some yellow forsythia for you to get to see a bit of a different way to arrange flowers. If you haven't seen the live recording, you'll find it under the live section on the YouTube page. And what I'm trying to do is once a month, possibly the last Saturday of the month, if it's not a bank holiday, is to do an hour live demonstration. So pop it in your diary to join me next time. With each tutorial that I do, I try to teach different methods and different techniques. And you know, often there are lots of different ways that you can arrange the same flower. So I'm going to repurpose the lilies and the palms. Now what you maybe won't be aware of if you haven't arranged in wire netting before is that unless you've got material to drape over the front, it's quite hard to cover the plastic container or your plastic tape and that type of thing. So what I'm going to do at the end is I'm going to use these pieces of bark just to sort of sit across the front there so it helps to hide the plastic base. When you're arranging in foam, you have the ability to tilt things forward. I've got a small amount of ivy which I'm hoping will drape quite naturally over the front, but I'm anticipating it's not going to be enough to cover that full container. But the use of this bark sitting on the outside is going to work quite well. Right, let's start by getting some height in. There's a slight curve in this piece of forsythia. I'm just looking on the camera as well to make sure I'm not too tall and you don't miss the top section. Remember to take off any side shoots so that there's a clear stem going into the wire netting. And what I probably do is refer to this as floral foam because it's going to be a habit. So I might slip up. But what I'll start with is feeding the forsythia through the wire netting. Now that is going to swing around and move around, but the more materials I add, the more secure that's going to be. And sometimes it's just a case of fiddling around until you get it to stay in the position that it wants to go. And in my case, it's not staying where I want it to go. Yay! Finally got there. Let's move this over this way slightly. Now it is going to swing around as I add more flowers in, but the more material I add, the more secure it's going to get. So if it's your first time using wire mesh, then don't worry too much if the first couple of placements of flowers move around. It's a hazard that we have to get used to when we're using wire netting. You don't get the security and the formal placements that you can get with floral foam. Now this is a plastic coated chicken wire. What I like about that is that you can wash it and reuse it and repurpose it for other jobs. And it's a lot kinder to the hands than the sort of metal, very tough chicken wire that we're used to using. And technically this is wire netting, not chicken wire. You need to have wire netting where there's about an inch gap in the holes, and then you need to layer it in at least 3 layers and mold it into the container that you've got. And what I'm starting to do is almost create The natural curve of my forsythia is going to draw your eye around to meet that little bunny. And I've got 3 forsythia all together. And just to show you as an example, if I wanted to have the forsythia on this side, it's going to work in this sort of position here. I'm not going to be able to drape it down over the container, and that's because we can only work with the natural shape of our flowers. We don't have the advantage of the foam, which helps us angle things downwards. What I don't like about that is it's blocking the view of my lovely bunny. Oh, actually, it's not too bad. I'm actually going to leave it where it was. I thought it was going to block too much of the view of my little bunny. And with the pieces that I've cut off, anything that's long enough, I can work here towards the front. So we get a little bit of link of colour across the front. And that has worked out quite well. Anything that I've got left over, I'm going to work in to the side. Now he is moving, but by the time I finished, I'm quite confident that's going to be secure. You just got to ignore it for the duration of the video. Now I have also used these palm leaves once before. I've used them on the Palm Sunday video, but if I bought flowers every time I was doing a new video here on YouTube, I would be spending an absolute fortune. And as I'm providing all these videos free of charge for you, then I'm going to try and repurpose as many of the flowers as I can. And what I'm going to do here is create a little bit of an outline, placing my palms deep enough into that wire netting so that it reaches the water at the bottom. And that sometimes can be the difficulty with these types of designs, is that sometimes your flowers aren't quite long enough to get all the way to the bottom of your container. And just to continue with some more palms towards the back, this will help create some depth there and draw your eye backwards and give that lovely green, that sort of lush green colour towards the back, which happens to link beautifully with my little bunny. And my bunny is on loan to me from a very good friend. Now I have a couple of trails of ivy which are going to cascade quite nicely over the front of that plastic container, and then when I add the bark in towards the end, it'll give a really natural finish to the base of the arrangement. If you had any longer or fuller pieces of ivy, then that would help to cover that plastic base also. And then I mentioned gold twigs. If you follow me on social media, you'll know I'm a lover of twigs. And if you follow me on Facebook, TikTok or Instagram, because I'm all over the place, then you'll know that my twigs caused quite a lot of controversy on social media not long ago. And I received quite a lot of hate comments, which is completely and utterly beyond me. But gorgeous little bit of gold. It's going to lighten the design slightly, bring in a different colour and a different texture. And now as my wire netting starts to fill out, that back forsythia isn't moving around quite so much. And I've got the advantage that as this gold piece is bent forward, it's going to come beautifully over the edge of my container along with my forsythia. Now these gold twigs were originally white, and I've just used some florist paint to change the colour of them. And I think if you look in the description box at the end of the video, I will have linked the product to Amazon should you decide you want to buy some. But you can normally get them in a hobby crafts type of shop, or you might have them left over from Christmas time. And now I've got sort of some texture and a range of colours in there. I'm going to introduce my lovely white Oriental lilies. Now this is quite a big design, so let's just move it over to one side while I work on it. And I'm going to start with a lily bed. They have already been cut shorter because I did use them in that YouTube live, but it's going to look so wonderful in here. That the white of the lily, that nice crisp fresh white lily, is going to look gorgeous alongside that textural bunny. Now if you're new here and I haven't introduced myself, my name is Sharon and I've got a YouTube channel full of exciting tutorials to help you to learn floral design. And I've got a Facebook group called Sharon's Innovations Group. Pop over there and join the group. There's lots of like-minded ladies and gents on there, and you can talk quite informally about floral design and ask lots of questions. Now the lilies I've used here are still in bed, and if you're doing this at home, you could quite easily arrange with your flowers in bed and watch them open at home. But we can't do that on a tutorial, so I'm going to add in some open lilies to create that real wow factor so that you can see what the design is going to look like when the lilies eventually open. And I would recommend that if you are arranging flowers for the church or flowers for the house, then you arrange with them when they're still in the buds, because you are really going to get a lot more enjoyment out of them. What I'm going to aim to do is have some open lilies more towards the focal area. That will give me a dominant section and a focal point. You might have noticed that I removed the pollen so that I don't cause any damage to the lilies, and it doesn't mark any upholstery. And if you do it before the lily opens too far, you don't end up with really dirty, dusty fingers, just like I've got here. And the pollen does stain quite badly. Just going to cut that one off. So be really mindful if you're arranging with them at home or for your local church, not to get them on any linen or any curtains or anything that's going to be near that floral design. Now I'm thinking this one is going to fit in this section here. Now one of the things I need to be careful of, I'm going to remove that because it's going to get squashed. One of the things I need to be careful of with this design is that my container is quite shallow, so I don't have any actual weight. It's a plastic container. It isn't heavy like some of the ceramic containers that I use. So I have the risk of this design tipping forward, and to prevent the whole arrangement cascading forward, I can use some little heads like this low down towards the back. That's going to tuck in really beautifully there and hide a big gap. You could use a closed lily in there or some more greenery, and rather than waste these little ones that I've cut off, they're placed down low. We create recession, which in turn gives depth to the arrangement. And to add a little bit of extra weight, I'm going to go with a more open head, and I can feed that in towards the back. So if you haven't learnt about principles and elements of design, they're really important in floral design. And you will find that I have a book over on Amazon, an ebook that explains all the elements and principles of design. And if you follow the link again in the description box, there are principle handouts on Etsy that will explain the elements and principles of design in basic terms. Now I had this one open head that I was holding on to so that it would sit in that sort of position there. So I had those 3 focal flowers at the front, but I just picked it out and I've snapped the end. So that's not going to be any good for me. So instead, I'm going to use this bud section to create that focal point because it's visually more pleasing than having 2. Remember, those 2 can almost look like headlights, but over time, that is going to open up and create that beautiful emphasis at the focal point. Now this is the point where I normally say that I'm really pleased with the way that's turned out. What I'm going to do now is use these little bits of bark tucked under here to help cover that base. That could be Easter eggs, it could be some natural moss, but these little placements, and these are just bits of bark that I've collected while I've been out walking. The addition of these is going to help bring some texture to the bottom. It really does help cover that plastic container quite quickly and quite efficiently. And I'm thinking, if my rabbit was real, he would be out in the wild, in amongst some bark, enjoying the best life possible. Now my little egg that the bunny is holding is sort of blues and greens. It might be hard to pick up on camera. And I've just got a few little eggs which are a matching colour. And I'm going to hang these from the branches at the top just to sort of give me a really nice Easter vibe. And I'm just going to add in a couple of blue and yellow eggs to pick up on the same theme around the front section here. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, then please do so. Hit that notification bell to be told every time I upload a new tutorial. The next live will be at the end of April, and you can bookmark it so you get notified of when the live demonstration is coming along. Add a comment in the box below. If there's anything that you would like to see taught on the YouTube channel, then please let me know. I look forward to seeing you for the next video. Have a fantastic Easter, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.